50th edition of Changing Ireland was launched by Minister of Education and Skills, Janice Sullivan, TD.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, first of all I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and congratulate everybody involved in Changing Ireland for reaching your 50th edition, and I too, like George, hope that we'll be back for the 100th in the not too distant future. But I think first of all it's important to say that this is, I think, the longest existing community newspaper and also one that is widely read and held in great esteem right throughout the country, and coming out of here, out of my Ross, and everybody involved, it is great gratitude to them. Those who started it off in the early days, and I think a lot of them aren't here. I thought Geraldine Clancy might be here, but I don't think she is.
Yeah, last minute.
Right, one Carlos and the others, Lane, Deirdre, the founders. But I think the spirit of it always has been, first of all, very much around volunteering insofar as his voluntary board and the road and his colleagues are to be congratulated. But generally, I think probably more importantly than the volunteering end of it, is giving a real voice to community. And when I say a real voice, I mean a real voice, not any kind of lip service, but actually a genuine voice for community. And I think that the magazine is going to have an even more important role in that area into the future. And I hope that it will play that role, and I know that it will, because people like me in government, other public representatives who are here today, people who represent, Seamus here from the council, and from Paul, well, you probably wouldn't see yourself as part of that voice, but you know, people are here from a number of different organisations. But what we really do need to hear is the genuine voice of community, and sometimes the discordant and the critical voice of community, because that is very much part of what this publication is, and it raises serious issues. I think it's done a lot actually to challenge stereotyping and to actually make people think about communities and not just have sort of very simple ideas of what certain communities are like, whether they be geographical communities like my Ross or parts of Dublin or Belfast or wherever, or the Philippines for that matter, but also communities of people where sometimes if you say you belong to a certain community, people, there's an automatic assumption that you are a certain type of person. That is stereotyping, that is wrong, and that has to be challenged at all levels, and I think Changing Ireland has done an awful lot to do that, and I think you're all to be commended for that. I suppose I get an opportunity to read Changing Ireland on a regular basis as well, sometimes when I work in the community centre, well, and Catherine on a Friday morning, and Chris, but in other places as well, and I know that it's widely read among my colleagues in other parts of the country as well. But I suppose just to comment a little bit on this particular edition, I found it really interesting. First of all, the cover, congratulations on the cover, and indeed on the other kind of quirky bits inside as well. And there's some, and near the back of it, there's some cartoons from over the years, which are you know, they sometimes cartoons actually can make very strong statements in a way that isn't necessarily using a lot of words, but it can be very strong. I thought Anne Phelan's, the article with my colleague Anne Phelan, was interesting, and certainly I would endorse the view she has that we should look at gender quotas in areas like for example, people who lead in local authorities, because women are very underrepresented in those areas. I was also interested when you mentioned Tim Howrican as having worked in the magazine, because obviously there's an article here about the equality referendum, which was a very successful campaign, and I know the point that's being made here is that that was very much around people getting involved who never got involved in political issues before, and we want to see more of that. But I met Tim at the Count, and he was after coming in the door, and I don't know if anybody else met him. He came in the door and he said, "I've cycled from Eastern Europe to vote." He had actually, literally, well, he told me he cycled from Eastern Europe. I presume he didn't cycle across the water, but he said he had cycled from Eastern Europe in order to get back to vote. And I think that's just an example of people's commitment to actually be involved in a social issue that they felt that strongly about. I suppose I also wanted to mention the fact that there's an article here by Paul Keating, which I found interesting, because it is very much around challenging you know, how communities are consulted, and you know, the need for real consultation, not just kind of lip service to consultation. And we're at the stage now where a lot of things are changing in Ireland. Obviously we've gone through pretty awful economic times, but that is turning around. I'm not here to make political points, but That does involve us basically deciding as a community, as a country, what kind of an Ireland do we want now that we've gone through this really turbulent and difficult time. And we're coming out the other end, and we have to decide what kind of a country are we making, what kind of country we're making, what kind of communities are we building, and hearing the voices of community is going to be absolutely central, I think, in that. And I know there are a number of, and I'm looking at the SICAP, the names which I'm getting used to, I don't know if you are or not, SICAP, LCDCs, PPN, which are meant to be all about involving the community, and what we have to ensure, and I think you should tell us if this isn't happening, what we have to all ensure is that is genuine involvement and genuine participation in the decisions that are being made about communities and should be made with communities. So I think that article is important, and I think the role of the magazine and indeed the role of everybody who's involved in communities is going to be really important over the next couple of years in determining and indeed in addressing issues like poverty and addressing issues like inequality that have been raised already. So your voice is going to be really important in that regard. That was most of really what I wanted to say. I think in the magazine we have some really good examples as well of best practice in communities, of really good stuff that's happening in different communities around Ireland, including here in Myros. And we're familiar with what's happening here, but you know, there are good things happening in other communities as well, and we need to learn from those, and we need to ensure that where there is something really positive happening, that other communities can learn from that. So I think Challenging Ireland plays an important role in that, but I think we all have an important role in that. Now, I don't know if the Horsey guys are going to, especially they're not coming in, and I would hope that they would come in, and I think everybody would like to hear from them, but I'm happy to talk to them individually. But I mean, I think they should feel that they're entitled to have their voice and entitled to make their case, and for all of us to hear it. But if they, I'm happy to talk to them as well. But I do think that actually does genuinely illustrate a situation where sometimes you know, the voices that are heard the loudest are the ones that don't actually really need to be heard all that much, because they're well able to make their own way in the world, and they're well able to, you know, get the ears of people who make decisions. So I think that is something that this magazine plays an important role as well in ensuring that those voices are heard. So again, I just want to wish you well for the future, and congratulate Gearoid and his team, Allen and his team, and Mark and Ben are here, and I think Jude does some of the editorial side of it as well.
No, I proofread it.
Proofreading, sorry. And Carlos, who isn't here. But look, well done to everybody, and I believe you will go from strength to strength, but certainly any support we can give, we're happy to give it. But giving it in a way that does not in turn kind of expect you to tone down any points that need to be made or whatever, as long as you're fair and impartial in terms of but look, I think we all need to hear the real voices of people in communities, so that this magazine certainly has been doing that job, and long may it continue. Thank you very much.